Hey, welcome to Surface Time, Confessions of a Diving Junkie. In the last episode, we were reminded about how everyone processes things differently on their own timeline and the importance of adjusting our communication approach, whether it's in the context of scuba diving or a work environment. Today, Stephanie will talk about teams. Yep, when you're scuba diving with your buddy, you are a team having to work together. So let's hear more about that. Steph, over to you.
Generally speaking, when we go diving, we dive with a buddy, and it is part of the safety protocol that we do body check before we enter into water. In reality, especially when we are on diving holidays, we tend to do just the bare minimum, like making sure the body has the gear on properly, or at least looks fine on the surface. And the air tank is open, and then off we go. That is not the best practice. A few years ago, I decided to do GUE fundamentals as part of my personal CPD for dive trainings, just to keep up with my diving skills, especially to improve my buoyancy with twin tank. I have many takeaways from these trainings. What made the most impression on me are two things: the formation of diving team and the high degrees of standardization. When you go diving, you dive as a team, and the diving team is formed to align with the dive plan. There is a team leader. Every team member has designated task. One would be in charge of the navigation, one would be taking care of the decode during the ascent, another one would be deploying the service marker buoy. And everyone has exactly the same setup in terms of equipment and the gears. It's like mirror image or twins. In essence, GUE protocol is military-like rigid. It is a good system for specialized diving like cave diving. The ethos is highly relevant in the corporate world in light of creating and maintaining a high-performing team. So the standardized approach to diving on the GUE system kind of reminds me of the importance of common points of reference in workspace. When I facilitate team building and leadership development workshops, I often ask participants to enlist the attribute of the best team and the worst team. Universally, trust is one issue that comes up. In the best team, the trust level is high, and in the worst team, the trust is non-existent. It is clear that trust is the foundation of all relationships. What gets more interesting is when I ask them to elaborate what trust means to them. The common response I get are, it takes time to build up trust. I can only trust my teammate if they have the relevant knowledge and competency. It sounds like hard work to build up trust at workplace. And yet, in the corporate environment, everything needs to be fast-tracked. That includes building up the trust fast. On the one hand, we need to have high-level trust in the team in order to have a high-performing team. We also need time to build up trust. Can you see the contradiction there? So let's look at trust and relationship from a different point of view. Again, we know that if there's no trust, there's no relationship. But in order to have relationship, it has to start with people making the choice to trust. Incorporate elements like the company culture, value systems, company missions are the key reference points for people to feel safe enough to choose to trust. In the ideal scenario, instead of relying on the unspoken rules at the workplace, we should really have the rules of engagement expressly stated for the team. And some of those common rules are: be respectful, listen actively, keep communication transparent, put the common goal of the team before personal goal, assume that everyone acts out of the best interest of the team rather than personal interest. Creative tensions are encouraged so to foster healthy conflicts and debate. The rules of engagement only works if everyone in the team adheres to it. Ultimately, it is to ensure that everyone feel comfortable and safe enough to speak freely, and knowing that no judgment will pass. And one way to test out the strength of that safe haven is to see how tensions and conflicts are handled in the team. It's like tango. There are tensions and passions at the same time. One time, I was working with a senior executive of a global coffee house chain. I'm going to call him David. So David and I met to plan out a team building workshop. Out of many requirements and issues, there was one thing that really stood out for me. So David told me that his team's highly creative, talented, great energy. He really likes his team. And because his team is in charge of all the design of the shops in the region, the expectation is very high. Likewise, the pressure to deliver and execute projects well is extremely high. And he sees that his team appears to get on very well. However, he has a reservation. He feels that the harmony is forced in the sense that his team members don't always speak their mind freely, and they don't do that because they want to maintain the peace in the team. So he asked me to observe this point, particularly during the workshop. To gain a quick insight to the personalities, I introduced a simple exercise to solicit the thoughts and opinions of team members. So I split them up in groups. One group is asked to talk about their experiences in the best team, and the other one talks about their experiences in the worst team. Naturally, the word trust show up. Then I asked them, and this is when the conversation get really interesting. I asked them what the conflicts looks like in the best team. So to sum it up, in the worst team, people take things personally, they're argumentative, they don't trust each other, they blame on each other, there's no consistency, chaos all around. On the other hand, in the best team, conflicts look like creative tension. People speak freely of their mind, their views, and even if they don't agree with each other, they will resort to agree to disagree. When it comes to making the final decision, they make it in the best interest of the company, the business, and the team. And more importantly, the disagreement in the meeting room would stay there, and they could walk out of the room and go to the pub for drinks together. So during the post-workshop debrief with David, we went through the papers that his team put together, the attribute of the best team. So I point out to him that his reservations about the forced harmony is accurate to a degree, still not substantive enough to impact on the performance of team at that time. But it's just still an issue that must be nipped in the bud. For one, the team members must feel safe enough to speak their mind freely, and they also need to embrace the idea that creative tensions is necessity, because that's what will continue feeding their creativity and innovation. And then I draw David's attention to the importance of setting up the rules of engagement in the team. In fact, that paper written about the attribute of the best team was their first draft. From experience, all the teams I have been in, there was never an expressly stated rules of engagement in place. Only in some specialized environments like legal profession and medical profession, where the unspoken rules of engagement are somewhat implied through the professional code of conduct. Otherwise, in most workplaces, rules of engagement may never be thought of or even spoken of. Absence of rules of engagement create plenty of room for complex emotion, personal agenda. These are effectively the seed for the making of ineffective teams. It's just fair to say that everyone can relate to it, and probably most of us are experiencing it on a daily basis. So looking back on GOE's rigid protocol, it's just rigid in many cases. However, it is also an effective risk mitigant. Say an unexpected emergency surfaces, the entire team will respond timely and effectively. So now transfer that back to the corporate space. Give it a go. Set out the rules of engagement with your team and let the team adjust to it, work with it, and see how the quality of the relationships improves over time. If you have similar issues like this in your company or in your team, feel free to contact me for a 30-minute free consultation to explore what actions can be taken.
It has never occurred to me that trusting someone starts with me making a choice to trust. Otherwise, no relationship can happen. Good stuff. Enhancing your self-confidence is a prerequisite for being an effective leader. So go and click the link below to get your own confidence builder worksheet and see how it works for you. Don't forget to tune into the next episode for some inspiration about effective leadership you don't want to miss. See you then.